Yes, I'd like to get started and respond to questions from the board. So we'll begin tonight's meeting. Today is Monday, March 2nd, 2021. The time is 6:07 p.m. And I'm calling this meeting to order. And the purpose of the meeting is to have deliberations and voting upon appeals properly brought before the board. And I will ask Kathy, our recording secretary, to please do the roll call.
Okay, Paulette Kuzo.
Here.
Kathleen Griffin.
Here.
Alexis Harrison.
Here.
Peter Rupert.
Here.
Harold Zawadsky.
Here.
Ronique Patel.
Here.
John Spoyar. Not here. Judy Zablak.
Here.
Catherine Giff. Catherine's not here. And
Thank you.
Assessor Ross Murray.
Here.
Thank you very much, Kathy. We have 7 members of the board present, so we have a quorum and we can begin. We have put together a list of appeals that we're going to try to get through today. So I will point you to the list of deliberations that we have for today, Monday, March 22nd.
Yeah. Oh, Harold,
Yes?
I just, to try to figure this out with the public, let's just say, we're trying to get through tonight the Fairfield Woods Neighborhood Code 85. That's sort of what everybody has as a list, is all the appeals in that neighborhood code. So, if anybody has some stragglers from some other neighborhoods they feel strongly about getting off their plate, we could certainly, address those. But our primary goal tonight is to make some good progress with the, I don't know, how many is it in this neighborhood code? I just put the email together. We have like 30 or something in this neighborhood code. So anyway.
Thank you for that clarification, Kathleen. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's great.
We're getting more organized. I promise. When the hearings are ending, we'll be more organized.
This is Harold. I would say that Ronique has been very patient and been on many of our deliberations meetings and has voted. And I think he's due to do some presentations. So Ronique, if you would like to begin, please announce the appeal number that you're going to be presenting, the name of the owner and the address, and make a motion.
Sure thing. Thank you so much, everyone. Glad to be here. So I have appeal number 118, and that's for Kathy Kieran and Elise Kay to start, and that's for property address 44 Aspen Wood Lane. And
What was the appeal number there? I'm sorry.
118. You're fine, 118.
Okay.
And I was,
Got it.
you're welcome.
Excuse me, I just wanted to mention that Peter arrived, so this is Kathy.
Thank you very much. Peter Rupert has joined our meeting as well.
No, I've been there.
You up here? It was there.
No, Kathy, this is Harold speaking. I believe you did call his name and he did announce that he was here. Go ahead, Ronique, if you will, please.
Thank you so much. I would like to make a motion to approve this for a requested value of $750,000.
Is there a second? I see Kathleen has seconded it.
Ronique, I'm sorry. I know you did say the number at the top. It's number 132.
118.
118. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No worries at all. I know it's weird that I'm saying approval, but I'm actually leaning to declining this one because he literally bought it on January 2019 for $850,000. To give the appellant some credit, he did bring in some comps all within 1 mile, but he was mostly contesting that the values went down in the other houses, but more than his. And so, I mean, the documents he included are attached. I mean, I just didn't feel like he had a strong enough case considering how he bought it last year within the time frame. But the similar comps, they're around the same value as 850. Anyone have any questions on this?
This is Harold. I do notice on the property card that he did purchase the property in December of 2019 for $850,000. And unlike some appraisers adding 1% per month, and it's been 10 months since that close date of, actually, I believe the close date was 1/8/2019. So asking for the sales price or having the town value the property at the sales price and even slightly lower seems to me to be very fair. Also, this is an unqualified sale. I don't know the reasons for that, but it seems to me that the town's value estimate is valid.
I agree too, but that's just me.
Yeah, this is Kathleen Harold. He wants to go down to 750. I don't know if you heard that part. He doesn't want to go to his sale price. He wants to go down to 750.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
This is Paula. I have a
Any
question.
other?
I have a
Yep.
question for Ross. Why is this an unqualified sale?
This is Ross. We show that there was improvements made after the purchase.
Okay, but why is that an unqualified sale?
Because we qualify sales based on the prior October 1st for equalized net grand list purposes, not for the revaluation. So this might have been included in the revaluation, but for the purposes of equalizing our net grand list with the state, it would be considered unqualified.
Because that's a confusing thing for us, because the minute people on the board here are unqualified, they think it's a family transfer or something that's not quite kosher. But in this case, that's not the case. It was an actual qualified sale, but listed as unqualified for a reason that has nothing to do with his appeal, really.
This is Harold. We've seen in the past that there are multiple reasons for having a U next to a sale, U meaning unqualified. We've seen several reasons for that. Buying from a builder, purchasing from a family member, and this is another variant of it. So I don't think that we can fully understand all the reasons why a U appears next to the sales price. And that's why we ask.
That's why I'm asking, yes.
Very
So
good.
I have a problem with what we're talking about as far as denying. I just wanted to know why it was unqualified, just for my own, just because I like to know that, because like I said, that sometimes taints the board of maybe we shouldn't be approving something because it's unqualified. In this case, it wouldn't matter. It has nothing to do with the sale, really. It has to do with something later. So now that I understand that, I'm good to go.
Yeah, this is Ross. It's just like when you have a multi-parcel sale, and I've talked about this before, we can't consider that a qualified sale, but certainly as you can look at that and make a judgment that you can combine those two and treat it as one in many cases.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? If not, I will call it to a vote. We had a second. All those in favor of granting the appeal to reduce the value to the, what was the amount again? I'm sorry, I lost it.
750,000.
Thank you, $750,000. Please raise your hands. All opposed, please raise your hand. I have 7 opposed, no abstentions. The appeal is denied, 070. Kathy, would you please call the vote to confirm for the record? Kathy, are you there? Are you muted?
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, for
Thank you.
appeal 118, the motion was denied unanimously, 070.
Thank you, Kathy. Ronnie, do you have another?
I do, thank you. So I would like to present appeal number 179, and that's for 317 Ronald Drive for Rajan Kumar and Sanal. They're requesting a value of $850,000 from the town's value of $932,500. So for this property, they bought the home last year. So they bought it on August 2020 for $840,500. They're requesting $850,000. So even if it was for 2 months, yeah, he did adjust for a little bit further during that time. The appraisal came back at $850,000, and the appraisal is dated, and where is that again? As of June 2020, but he bought it in August for $840,000. He did provide. You talked about one comp in particular, which was 220 for fennel. Is that what it is? Fennel. Again, I have this one. I think this was his neighbor. How was it? But I mean, the appraisals here, and then we were talking a little bit about the appraisal as well. But I don't think he was that far off if he just bought it in August at $840,500 to go for $850 2 months later.
Anybody,
Kathy, is there a
comments?
second to that motion?
My apologies. I forgot the motion. I just realized. I would like the motion to approve the appeal number 179 for Rajan Kumar and Sanal for 317 Ronald Drive for a requested value of $850,000.
I'll second that. Judy Ziblev.
This is
My
Howard. Judy
apologies,
has
I
seconded it. Thank you, Judy. And this is appeal number 179, correct?
Yeah.
I think this is pretty cut and dry, everybody. The guy bought it for $840,000. He's actually even asking for more than he bought it for. He's even contributing to the town and saying, hey, listen, I bought it for $840,000. I'm an appraisal for $850,000. You're obvious your 932 is high or 932.5. I think he's being uber reasonable. He just bought the property. He is his own best comp, and he's got an appraisal. I see no reason why we should not grant this at $850,000.
I agree, I'm
And
good.
it is a qualified.
What's that,
Sorry,
Ronnie?
go ahead, Paul. And it is a qualified sale. So sorry, go ahead, Paulette.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I said I have no problem with this. I'm in agreement with Judy. There's no reason not to accept this appraisal. In fact, the streets that are used are in better areas and neighborhoods than the one he's in. So they use better comps, better streets than his. So I'm good with this.
Yep,
Yes, Kathleen?
yep. Just want to point out, he does have a permit pulled for his kitchen for $85,000. But it appears that the property record card says it's 0% complete. So I'm assuming that means, when he does do his kitchen, it will go up. But this is that, we don't need to look at that 85,000 he's putting in for his kitchen because it isn't done
On
yet.
the time period. Yeah, it's not in the time period, right?
Well, if he does work after the time period, his appraisal will go up. If you do work on your home, right, you go up. You don't wait 5 years to go up. So.
Oh, as soon as you get your CO, it should go up.
Even
CO.
before, right? If you're 50% done,
CO and
go
the
up.
tax assessor, right?
Yeah, so and just pointing that out, it looks like it's 0%. Otherwise, we would want to include the kitchen because he's, now he would be higher with the kitchen, so.
Right, but not without the CO, because the perfect example of that is Mr. Fazio's property, where he's had the dumpster out there for more than a year, and his taxes haven't gone up yet. So I think it's when you get your CO.
Yeah, so that's right.
I'll call the vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to reduce to $850,000, please raise your hand. The vote is unanimous. 7 in favor to grant the appeal in full for $850,000. Opposed? None opposed. The vote is 7-0-1. None. 7-0-0. The appeal is granted in full to $850,000 on appeal number 179. Ronnie, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Ready for another one when you guys are.
Go for it.
So I like to present appeal number 156 for 197.
Just for making sure that the minutes are correctly recorded, I'm going to ask Kathy once again to please call the vote. Kathy.
Okay, for appeal 179, the vote was unanimous to grant it. It's a reduction to $850,000. 700.
Thank you very much. Ronnie, the next number, please.
Great, thank you so much. So appeal number 156, and this is for Adam and Tara Learman at 197 Bulkley Drive. The town value is $633,400, and she was requesting $618,400. So the biggest thing about this one is.
Are you making the motion?
Thank you. I've been out of practice. I would like to motion to approve appeal number 156 to the requested value of $618,400.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. Judy Stay Black.
Thank you, Judy.
This one's also an easy one. She has no pool, and the field guide there is a pool. So I contacted the assessor's office to quote what it's like to be without the pool. So the difference is she's requesting $618,400. The town with removing the pool valued it at $618,700. So instead of $400, it's $700. So I am questioning. It's just semantics. I mean, do I go to $618,400 or should I go to $618,700? And I'm not sure where to go with that, unless someone wants a motion for partial or. But go ahead, Kathleen.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I just had a quick question. What kind of pool was it? Was it a vinyl pool? I mean, what kind of pool did they have?
They don't have any pool. We value.
No, I know. I understand they no longer have the pool. I was just curious, what kind was it when it was included?
In-ground vinyl pool.
This is Harold. It appears that the assessor's office has agreed to reduce the value to $618,400, which is the requested amount.
700.
Excuse me. Kathleen, do you have a correction for me?
This is Kathleen. I'll make a motion to amend it. The only reason I say that is because if we have to do the extra 300, Ross has to figure out how to make that work on the card, whether he has to do an adjustment of, so it's probably easier to have it correct in the record for, that rather than doing an override for $300. And then someone's going to say, well, why was that overridden for 300? So, and it's $300. So I'll make a motion to amend the motion, change it to from grant to grant in part, and change the amount from $618,400 to $618,700.
I'm confused why we're doing it.
This is Harold. Excuse me. I see on the notes from the assessor's office that the approximate new value is given as 618,400, which is the requested amount. Am I missing something?
This is
The
Kathy Ross.
requested
Can you
amount
wait?
is 600. The requested amount is 618,400, and we reevaluated it with removing the pool of 618,700.
So the note that we have from the assessor's office is not what appears on a revised property card. Is that what we're saying?
No, so approximate new value on what you're looking at is what I put in. If you scroll down to the field card,
Okay,
then
okay.
you'll see
I see it now. I
removed.
see it now. I
Sorry
see
about
it.
that.
Looking at the field card, this is Harold speaking. I do see the difference of the $300. Yes. So Kathleen has made a motion to amend this appeal. And is there a second?
This
Ronnie?
is Ronique. I'll second that.
Rotnik has seconded. So all those in favor of the amendment to reduce the requested amount to 618,400, raise your hand.
I think it's 700, Carol. I think it's 618,700.
Oh, 700, I'm sorry. 618,700. Raise your hand again, please, so I get an accurate count. Okay. The motion is carried. The motion is to appeal. The appealed price is granted 700. And now we'll vote on the original motion. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand.
I'm not quite sure I get that.
Yeah, Harold, it's to grant in part to the amended amount.
That's,
Right, because the motion's now been amended on the table.
all right, so can we restate that clearly for the record? We just voted on the amendment. Now we're voting on the amended motion.
That's
Correct? At the 618.7. Okay, just want to make sure.
Yes,
Thanks.
we're voting on the amended motion to grant the appeal to 618,700. All those in favor, raise your hand. The motion is carried 700. The motion is granted in part to $618,700. Kathy, could you please read the vote for the record?
Appeal number 156 was granted in part to 18,700 unanimously.
Thank you.
Did you say that correctly?
I don't know.
thought
Did
it
I?
was
I think I
6,000,
did.
8,000. It just sounded, so can you just restate that? It was 618,700.
6,000,
618.
18,700.
Yeah. 618,700. 618,700. That's right.
Oh, hey guys, I've got a question. Oh, I'll give Ronique a break for a second. I've got a question while everybody's here. The commercial appeals, I've heard a number of commercial appeals, and I don't know, I think, who is hearing them? Harold, is it just you and I hearing them? Commercial appeals?
I think several were heard by Kathleen as well, and perhaps others.
Okay.
Catherine, Catherine, and
I
John.
have to say that I really have to say it's got to go on the record. I am really uncomfortable with us voting on these large commercial properties. And I don't think we're qualified. I don't think we're qualified for the taxpayer. I don't think we're qualified for the town of Fairfield. Out of all the ones that I have heard, I don't, I think I might only be interested in talking about two of them. I don't think we're qualified for that. I think that's it.
This is Harold. This year, as in years past, the assessor's office has requested that we hear commercial properties. Now, if we chose not to, I'm not sure what would happen, quite frankly. Perhaps Ross can shed some light on that. But, and I'm certainly not qualified to make determinations for many of these large commercial properties. I don't know if a $37 million ask is valid when the town has the property valued at 45 million. But I do believe that by hearing these appeals and then denying them because we don't have the knowledge and capabilities to make accurate judgments, that we are creating a clear path for the commercial property owners or representatives to approach the state courts to work out an agreement on their appeal. That's
Okay.
my.
Okay, I just really wanted to say that we deliberate, the houses are one thing, but these very large commercial properties, it's uncomfortable. I heard them, I feel for them, and I can understand it, but I'm not quite sure that everybody else can, and I have a limited knowledge to understand it. So that's it.
Understood. Alexis, yes, your
So,
comment?
what is the reasoning for the assessor to recommend that we do hear these? It seems a little waste of time if we know that we're not qualified to make a deliberation or a qualified answer. I don't understand the value.
This is Harold. Before I ask the assessor to address that question, I will recognize Kathleen for comment.
Yeah, this is my understanding, Ross can correct me if he wants, but that it's helpful to him to hear these, to get the paperwork ahead of time so that they can, one, prepare for to go to court, so they have the paperwork so it takes less time. And second, because sometimes things will come up during the hearings that he can actually fix in his office and it can be addressed without going to court, and then it saves the town all the lawyer's fees of the corporation going to court. Whether it's, he would have to give you more details on it, but those are kind of the two reasons that I'm understanding that it's worth our effort to, get the paperwork ahead of time, hear what their cases are so we can be better prepared, and also to potentially, realize there's been a mistake and get it corrected, and then they don't have to go to court at all. So.
This is Harold. I see Paulette's hand raised for comment.
Thank you, Harold. I was on the board in the past, and we would hear commercial appeals up to $1 million, which were a little more easy to understand, and you felt more confident doing them, although not 100%, because it's different. And I understand that the assessor would like assistance. However, we are volunteers. We're not paid for our time. I'm putting a lot of time into this. We have 650 appeals. This was not the year for us to take on the added burden of time, which I'm not being paid for, and I'm happy to do, except when it's unnecessary, like now. And then we let these people come here thinking we're going to do something about this, and we're not going to do anything, just so we can get information for the assessor. That's not our job. I don't work for the town. I'd be happy to do it if you wanted to pay me, but this is ridiculous. Appeals of $9 million. We have no business being there, and what are we, spies? We have to gather information so they can prepare to go to court. They need to go to court just like the taxpayer goes to court. I'm really upset by the fact that this was a request that was unnecessary during a year when we have 650 appeals.
This is Harold. The task has pretty much already been completed, so I think it's a moot point. But Alexis, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just had another question, and maybe you can clarify it or somebody else. What are they under the assumption that we will be deliberating and giving them a fair hearing, or do they think that we're going to flat out deny it so we do give them a clear path to Superior Court? So I think that's a little deceptive. I think if it's the former.
This is Harold. I've heard well, over 40, maybe even 50 hearings. I've had over 40, 50 hearings on commercial properties, and in the majority of those hearings, the person I was speaking to was representing a large group of the commercial properties. And when I asked them if they had anything else to add to the files, they said, no, all of the information that I have, if it was a lawyer or whomever, is already in the file. So they filed their information. They had a hearing. It was very brief. And I believe that the deliberations will be very brief as well, unlike the property appeals that we are deliberating. But Ross, can you take the time to talk to the benefits?
I just want to say one thing. I didn't mean that we should not deliberate. I mean, we heard them. We have to deliberate. I have to address it to everybody here. I just don't think for the vast majority that we're really qualified to make that decision for the taxpayer or the town. That's the vast majority. That's all I wanted to say. Of course, I'm not saying that we shouldn't deliberate at all, okay? That we shouldn't have the conversation. I want to make sure that was clear.
Well, I understand, and obviously there are members that have a different opinion, but as I said, the task has already been completed. It's a moot point. In future years, the Board of Assessment Appeals may decide not to hear commercial properties over $1 million, and that's their prerogative. Ross, can you shed some light on the benefits, in addition to what Kathleen had said about hearing commercial properties over $1 million?
Sure, this is Ross. I mean, Kathleen pretty much summed it up, but there are some commercials that if the board wants, I could give you a recommendation on, and maybe we could take care of them and avoid having to go to court at all.
Okay, thank you very much. Have we addressed this issue sufficiently?
I think so. This is Paulette. I just want to say that I'm not comfortable with the assessor giving us recommendations. He's not a member of the board. It's not his job. We decided to hear them.
All right, I'm going to stop this casting dispersions on the assessor's office. It doesn't behoove us to do that. It doesn't apply to our role as in our deliberations. I'm sorry, Paulette, but I think that casting dispersions when there's no reason to on the assessor's office is not beneficial to our function.
Yes, it is when I'm telling you that he's not a member of the board. It's not him. It's not personal. He is not a member of the board.
He is advising, as it's Harold, he is advising us upon request of the board. He's advising us upon the request of the board.
Vote on that because I'm voting no. It's a board. It's 7 people. We don't just, I thought we voted on things.
And I am the chairman of the board, and I can ask a question like anybody else on the board can.
You asked it, and I'm just saying I don't agree with it. I'm not saying you don't have the right to ask it, but this board runs too many times with the assessor when we should be figuring out things ourselves.
And this is Harold, and I think as we have seen in our deliberations, we have done so.
I didn't see that, but that's okay. You have the right to your opinion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ronnie, can you go forward with your next appeal?
Yeah. So I'd like to present appeal number 204 for Michael and Michelle and Melissa Miller at 550 Old Oaks Road. The requested value is $560,000 and the town's value is $666,500. This one's not going to be as easy, but we'll go with it. Not everyone is going to be easy on this one. So anyways, I would like to motion to approve the requested value of $560,000 for appeal number 204.
I second from Kathleen. This is Harold speaking.
Thank you so much. Okay, so she went for a remodel in May of last year. And when she went for the remodel, she got an appraisal for $560,000 from the bank, as you can see at the attached documents. So it is an appraisal. It is at 560. A couple of things I've noticed is if you look at the comparable sales, there was no adjustment for time. And some of the dates that were sold were September 2019, June 2019. The other one was April 20. But keep in mind, this was also for, an appraisal done in May of last year. So it was pretty close. And it's only a few months. So maybe a time appraisal adjustment or time adjustment is not appropriate because it is so close to that date. I mean, the June 19 is kind of questionable, but so there was no time adjusted on the appraisals. And even if you did a 5% adjusted from May to October, right? Even if like worst case scenario you did that, I mean, it would end up being about $588,000, and she's requesting $560,000. And so she did go in for informal, I believe, and she just didn't have any appraisals then. Any questions on this?
This is Harold. I see that this appraisal was done for a credit bureau.
Yeah, she wanted a remodel.
It's for a refinance.
Or refinance, my apologies.
Yeah.
This is Harold. A lot of that has been going on for because of the very favorable rates that are being offered these days. Any comments or further discussion on this?
So just I noticed that the size of the lots, I mean, are pretty different, right? From
This is Peter. Peter, this is you speaking?
yeah, Peter.
All right, thank you.
Just that the size of the lots are, pretty significantly different, from the subject. The comps are different from the subject. So, I know there's an adjustment there, but it seems, I don't know, how those adjustments work. I mean, does that seem reasonable in terms of adjustments there?
I think I would have to ask my fellow realtors on the call to see if those adjustments for the land are appropriate enough. I know the appraisal wrote notes on it, on the adjustments that he made, and they did $5,000 per full acre of difference.
This is Paulette. With regard to the adjustments and if they're appropriate, the BBA handbook, page 40, number 22, clearly states that appraisals should be examined by those that are qualified to do so only. So we have the right, but we do have the right, we should be looking at them and making sure that they look right, that there's nothing fishy going on. But as far as getting into the meat and potatoes of the individual adjustments, none of us, including the realtors, are truly qualified to make adjustments or to make comments about whether or not we think they're right. That's not what we're supposed to be looking at. They're licensed, they're sworn in if they came to do it themselves, or they're given to the homeowner, she's sworn in. So basically, our handbook says that we shouldn't be getting into the little bitty pieces of this as long as the rest of it looks okay. The adjustment to me, having looked at appraisals before, that's their numbers. They have a reason why they use them. And I don't really see a red flag that's telling me that we shouldn't accept that. Judy, what do you think?
Well, yeah, okay. So number one, it came from a credit union or a bank. So here's the thing about the appraisal. And one of the things, and I've been thinking about it over and over again with appraisals, of course, we talked about that the appraiser is licensed by the state. They don't not want to lose their livelihood. They can't do something that's absolutely improper. But you know what I thought about yesterday is that really this was good enough for the bank. The bank is lending hundreds of thousands of dollars to these people for 30 years. They're lending them. It's good enough for the banks. The appraiser is licensed and certifies that on the, on his own, for his own livelihood. He has to do the right thing. And I don't see why we should be questioning all these appraisals when we get them. They're here, they're from professionals. The banks rely on them, and this one is especially the bank was lending money on this. So I think it's not that I think, I feel in my heart, I know the right thing to do is grant him the appeal based upon the appraisal and not pick that appraisal apart. 560, I'm there with that.
Well, this is Harold. I do see in the appraisal that the comps have perhaps in some instances additional bedroom, additional bathroom. So those are all in favor of the appellant's valuation. So if no one else has any comments, I will call a vote. So this is Harold. All those in favor of granting this appeal in full to $560,000, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. Alexis, how do you
Here.
vote? 4.
I'm voting in favor.
4 in favor of granting the appeal in full. All those opposed, raise your hand. 3 opposed. That's Harold, Kathleen, and Peter. The motion is carried 4-3, no abstentions. Kathy, could you please call the vote for the record?
Okay, for Appeal 204, the motion to reduce the appraised value to $560,000 was granted by a vote of 4 in favor, 3 opposed, and nobody abstaining, with Kathleen, Peter, and Harold opposing.
Thank you very much. Ronique, you want to make a further dent in your list?
Sure thing. I'm loving this. So, next appeal, 256. And this appeal is for Stanley and Rochelle Bernald. It is at 171 Lookout Drive South. The requested value is $550,000. The town value has it at $726,400. I would like to make a motion to the board to approve the requested value of $550,000.
I'll second that, Courtney.
Thank you. So this one's interesting. It's a beautiful house, and it is a bit of a difference. The request that he's saying is there's significant damage to the property. And so he had a realtor look at this and provide a letter showing what they believe is the fair market value of this. So it's not necessarily an appraisal. I forget what it's called. I think it's a market value assessment.
Market analysis, what we call it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So in the market analysis, there's a couple of things that he wanted to point out. It's in a lot of damage. So he's 83 years old, he's retired, and he hasn't been able to keep up with the house, and it's only them that live there. And so some of the damages that were pretty prominent are the attic leak. It's a 41-year roof. The foundations and the steps are collapsing and cracking. The foundations are particularly, there's some photos of it. The exterior wood is rotting, the stucco's broken, the bathroom drain pipe is leaking into the living room below. And the garage roof is destroyed, and the sidewall of the garage collapsed. So even though the market analysis came back between $500,000 to $550,000, he's still requesting the higher end of $550,000. He made some other comments, such as like the next door neighbor at 325 Lookout. They sold they sold it for $460,000 in April 2016, and then they made repairs and sold it at $770,000. So that had damage, and someone flipped it, right? So sold it at $460,000, but this was also 2016. Sold it at $770,000 later down the line. That was the next door neighbor. I think the biggest thing is to look at is the analysis showing all the damage, all the adjustments made because of the damage, and that's why he's requesting $550,000.
This is Howard. I have a question. Do the realtors know, is this house located near the Brooklawn Country Club golf course?
It is.
Yes.
So it's on that road that leads to the Brooklawn Country Club?
There's like two little roads. There's like Collingwood, right? It's just like it's in that little direct vicinity.
Okay, just curious. Because I think I've seen the house. This Tudor style home.
They're absolutely gorgeous over there. The neighborhood's gorgeous, but there's an awful lot of, there's an awful lot of work that goes along to get that up to snuff.
Mhm. Oh,
The property suffers because of it. Unfortunately, the property suffers because of it. It's old.
So this is Kathleen. I just have a couple questions. Ronique, I'm looking at the document that the broker provided, and he shows 3 other comps, but they're all like north of the Merritt and in totally different parts of town. So did he get his 550 number from the broker, or did he come up with that himself? And then I have a second question for Ross on the card. It looks like KC, which I believe is Ken, made a visit to the property in December and made an adjustment. So if you can tell us what that is, it looks like they came down in December, but it's not from the informals. You know, it looks like Ken went to the house if his initials are on it. So if you can explain, you know, they did get a drop back in December. So I have those 2 questions.
Yeah, this is Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ken was out there in December, and he put a 15% functional on for the deterioration on the building.
So they got a $100,000 drop in assessed or $100,000 in appraised?
This is Ross. Let me see.
Went from 619 to 508 assessed.
Right. So that's 108. Yeah, it's about 154,250 in appraised value.
And that was for the condition, right? That's why Ken put the 15% on there.
Right. His notation is deferred maintenance.
Okay, which is what this gentleman is talking about. Okay, and then the broker put in 3 comps, but he picked Fallowfield Road and
Every single one of those comps is in an area which is superior to this one. This is on the Bridgeport line, Paulette. I know you can attest to this. There are people that don't want to live in that area, even though the houses are beautiful, the neighborhood is gorgeous, because Bridgeport is a yellow line away, a double yellow line away.
is this Brookline Park? Lookout
Yeah.
Drive?
Yep.
It's right from the country club.
Yeah, so that's a nice area, Brookline, over there in Stratfield.
This is
Yeah, but
this is
it's
Harold.
near the border of Bridgeport.
This is Harold. It is west of Villa Avenue. It is further removed from the Bridgeport line than other homes that are in the Villa Avenue area. This house is, I've driven by this house many times. It is a Tudor that requires a lot of maintenance over time. It is an older home. It is surrounded by homes of all different vintages and characteristics. It's kind of an area that builders have chosen to build to suit their clients. I don't think we can take into consideration the deterioration. It's up to the owner to take care of the properties. And I don't think that he has provided compelling evidence to support his case.
Yeah. This is Kathleen. I just looked at
What-
it on the GIS. He actually backs up to the Brooklawn Country Club golf course. So he's got the golf course in his backyard. So
This is Paulette. Harold, I have to just say that I disagree with that comment about it's further away from Bridgeport. Lookout Drive is directly across the street from Capitol Avenue in Bridgeport. You can't get any closer than that where you cross the street, number one. Number two, yes, he backs up to the golf course. Maybe we should have him put a tent out there and live there. He'd have more value than what he has living in the house. The fact that if the house were in great condition, even good condition, the fact that he backs up to the golf course would be wonderful. But the condition that it's in, we have to take into account the disrepair of the house. Remember that in that little handbook that you made me read, which I'm happy I did, it clearly states that market value is what we're looking at. Market value. The realtor is saying that the house is valued at that number. He's got evidence and pictures. He tells you that it probably needs $350,000 worth of work. So I have no problem with it. I don't see why we don't think he's made his case. I don't think he can make a better case. Those pictures say 1,000 words. Look at it. Would you like to go have tea with him in his living room where the excrement from his waste pipe is leaking into it? I wouldn't.
You can live in Southport for the same money, and you can live at the Ridge for the same money, right?
Live at the Ridge. The Ridge comps are way better than this location.
Right.
Well, this is Harold. This is 0.7 acres. It is a large property. If I look at the card in further detail, I don't know if there's any features that are unique to this home. I want to take a look
One
at
thing
that.
Definitely,
Yes,
you're right.
this is Ronique.
It does. And in good condition, it would make a huge difference in value. But unfortunately, the unique features that it now has are all things that need to be repaired at a great cost. In good condition, I would be saying, yes, you're right. This house is worth more than that, way more than that, because of location, condition, things like that. The golf course alone. But in this condition, which is poor to poor minus, this house is not worth what the town says it's worth. I'm sorry, it's just not. And if we can't see that, shame on us.
And this is Ronique. One thing I would like to add too, I forgot to mention, he did say that the house needs over $350,000 in repairs. So he's not completely taking it down the entire 350, right? And there's requested value. Also, he said the plumbing is 100 years old. The structural beams is deteriorating. I mean, in addition to the foundation. So I just wanted to point those out as well.
This is Harold, and that's why I believe in December, there was a change in the value of the house. Now, maybe it wasn't sufficient, so perhaps we want to consider a grant in part. I'm not sure. I see a number here in the analysis that was done of $675,600.
Where's that? I don't see it.
What page are you seeing that?
I'm seeing that on page 22.
Is it in the comps?
On the bottom of page 22.
No.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, so he's going on immediate neighborhood comparisons. The appraisal should be lower. And then at the very bottom of that. But that is before any of the work that needs to have happened there.
And again,
Like structural work, the asbestos that he mentioned. The asbestos is a big thing, and a lot of people don't even want to go near that.
Yes, it is a house that was built in a period that requires some tender loving care.
I mean, if you read his statement, this is Alexis. I mean, he's 83 years old. He's living on a pension. I mean, he's not going to be able to afford, repairs. Let's give it to him. My God.
It's just going to continue to deteriorate. He's not going to fix it. He can't. So it's
He
not
doesn't
going to
have
go
the
up.
means.
And the fair market value, again, has been determined by the realtor who's been in business for 30 years to be $550,000. And the handbook says market value is what matters. So I'm going with market value. Thanks for letting me read that book. That was a good idea.
This is Harold. I appreciate discussions from everyone. I think it's all helpful to our decision. So unless there's further comment, I will call a vote. Yes, Kathleen?
Yeah. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Again, I would, Ken's been out there, he took 150,000 off. I agree we should take more off. I just don't know that we should go as low as 550. So if somebody had a number somewhere closer to that, because this is another 200,000 off the house in addition, right, to what Ken took off? It's almost another 200,000. I just think somewhere in the sixes would be better than in the fives. That's me. You know, we're going to see a lot of these over in that area. I heard a couple of them in the Stratfield district, people who really not taking care of their big, beautiful old homes. And I'm just, you know, I've seen some of those properties. I just think to take him down to 550 on this kind of a house is a little too low. That, and based on the comps not being in the Stratfield area, when I know there's other sales in that area, that, you know, I just think he should have used those. I think the broker shouldn't have gone to Fallowfield and Greenfield Hill. So I don't like the approach that the broker. I personally don't like the way that he did that. That's all. I would have used comps in the area. I wouldn't have gone across town. So I am agreeing that he needs some more relief than Ken gave him, the 150 Ken gave him. I'm not going to support 550 because I think it's just almost another 200,000. And I just think that's a lot.
Kathleen, I appreciate your opinion and I respect it, but I'm hearing a lot of things in that conversation. I don't believe that we should go with a partial amount. I believe he deserves what his market value is based on a professional's opinion. We are not qualified to determine what comps we like better and which should be used. Professionals are, they do it for a reason. He picked comps that were in way better places. If he had used the ones in the neighborhood, it might have come out the same, it might have come out worse. It doesn't matter if they're still that field. He picked the comps, he picked better comps than in the neighborhood. The other thing I'm hearing, and it bothers me a little bit, is that there's other houses like this. I'm getting a sense that what's not being said verbally is that if we give him this, we're going to have to do that for everybody, and that's a lot of money to give up. And that's clearly important, but it is not the reason not to grant somebody's appeal. We have clear evidence of a house in such disrepair. I just don't see why this man did not make his case. That's just my opinion.
This is Harold. Okay, if there's no further discussion, I will call a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal in full to a reduction of, was it $550,000? Please raise your hand. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 in favor of granting the appeal. All those opposed, raise your hand. 3 opposed. The appeal is granted with a vote of 4 in favor, 3 opposed. No abstentions. Kathy, will you please read the vote?
Okay, for Appeal 256, the vote to reduce the appraised value to $550,000 passed with a vote of 4 in favor and 3 opposing. Nobody abstained, and Peter, Kathleen, and Harold opposed.
Thank you, Kathy. Ronique?
Yeah, sure thing. This one's a little bit not as drastic. So appeal number 225. And that's for Jason and Amy McKernan at 153 Applegate Road. The requested value is $617,000, town value of $690,500. And I would like to motion to approve the requested value of $617,000.
Do I have a second? Kathleen is seconding the motion.
Excuse me, Ronnie, what was that appeal number? I didn't get it.
No worries.
225. This is
225.
Howard.
225, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So there is an appraisal report attached to this. All the comparables that he mentioned, three in particular that he liked, were 225 Primrose, 12 Beechwood Lane, and 6 Wellner. All three of those are within one block of this house. So what I asked him to kind of give me a little bit of an idea, because the appraisal came back at 617. The appraisal was done on January 2020. So it is after October. So if we do go by time adjusted, it would have probably gone up, but it's not that much of a difference, right? It's only a few months. So the appraisal is at 617, he's requesting 617. And to kind of paint a picture, 225 Primrose Lane sold November 2020 for $448,500 with larger land. And then 12 Beechwood had an extra bath, and that was for January 2020 for $475,000. 6 Wellner had an additional bath and renovated kitchen, sold for $609,000 on December 2019. That's what he did outside the appraisal. My apologies.
I was going to say, okay.
He thought the properties in the appraisal were a little bit further than his, and so he wanted to take a next step further and look specifically in his neighborhood.
This is Kathleen. But Ronit, the appraisal is January of 2020, right? Not January of 2021? That's what it says on the cover.
Oh, right. My apologies. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
That's
so
my error.
It is a little over a year old. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. My apologies.
Any issues or questions regarding this property?
I would like to also mention in 2018, it was bought for $498,000, but that was 2018.
Thank you, Ronique. This is Harold.
Harold, in looking at the paperwork, just to let you know, the appeal number 255 paperwork is in this file related to Fairfield Beach Road.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
When I look at the paperwork in this file, when I go down, near the bottom of it, near the end of it, after the appraisal, there's information in here from the wrong appeal. It's for 600 Fairfield Beach Road. It belongs in appeal number.
Yeah.
I just want to, say that so that we can get it in the right place. I don't know if it's in both of them or if it's missing from the other file.
Yeah, because that's appeal 255 and this is 225, and somebody just made a little error, probably was late in the day. That was a good catch. Thank you, Paulette.
Yes, thank you, Paulette. I would suggest that the assessor's office see if this document is misfiled and to get it into the appropriate document, please. Okay, I think that we can call this to a vote unless there's any further comments. All those in favor of granting this appeal in full, please raise your hand. I have Alexis. Do I see a vote from you? Yes, I do.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. Opposed? 1 opposed. No abstentions. The motion is carried. The appeal is granted in full to the requested amount of $617,000. Kathy, could you please call the vote?
Appeal 225 to grant a reduction in appraised value to $617,000 is approved with a vote of 6 in favor, 1 opposing, and nobody abstaining, with Peter opposing.
Thank you, Kathy. Ronnie,
All right, so
You
now we
still-
got 2 Greg Lane properties.
I know you drive an electric car, but do you still have some gas left?
I got some EV going here.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
I'm not going to do them together, of course. They're different properties, but I just want to let you know they're Greg Lane appraisals. So this next appeal number is 452. And this is for Daniel Rosa and Stephen Daniel Rosa for address 156 Loda Drive, and the requested value is $465,000, and the town appraisal value is $512,700. And I would like to make a motion to approve this deal.
Is there a second? This is Harold. I will second.
Thank you. So, a couple of things. There is an appraisal we can look at in a minute. Just one thing I wanted to point out: he did buy August of 2018 for $431,500, and so we have it at $512,700. That's just one thing I personally noticed, and he hasn't done anything to the home, and all the comps are within a quarter mile of the house. There's pictures that he attached to the appraisal, but it needs some cosmetic updating. Comp number, I asked Greg if he can look into, or give me a little bit of background on the comparable sales. Comparable number 2 and 3 that he mentioned to me are less in quality. And comparable sale number 1 is in better condition, but they all have similar acres and size.
Okay.
I don't see that. I don't see the appraisal.
I don't see the appraisal either. Just gonna say that.
Oh, no, is this one of the ones that weren't uploaded? So, oh, shoot. All right.
Okay.
I have a copy, yeah.
This is Harold. Perhaps we should withdraw this
Yeah, I
until
would like
we
to
know
withdraw
that
this.
the documentation has been uploaded.
I agree.
Yeah.
Excuse me, this is Kathy. It's being scanned in now.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Did you do appeal number 277? Do that now.
This is
I
Harold.
mean,
I'll
could we-
point out a few things with the information that we already have. This is a ranch. I'd like to see if the comps being considered are of similar construction style. This is three bedrooms, 2 baths.
Yeah, and if he gave me another copy of the appraisal, which one is there, one I have, and the comparable sales, if anyone wanted to look at them, is 170 Ronalds Drive. The other's 342 Ward Terrace, and the other one was 320 Ronald Drive. I wish I could share my screen on this, but it's not a screen I can share. Should we table this and come back to it later on while it's being scanned in?
I think we can withdraw it for now until all of the pages get loaded.
I would withdraw your motion, Ronak.
This is Ross. I'll have him in about 1 minute.
Oh, okay.
Is the motion off the table?
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Alexis, is the motion still on the table or off the table?
It's still on the table. We are waiting for the documentation to be.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think we need to refresh from the list to see the updated information in the file. And we were talking about appeal number 452.
This is Ross. If you repull that, you should see the appraisal now.
Thank you. Not yet. This is Harold speaking. I only see 3 pages still.
This is Kathleen. Harold, sometimes you have to hit F5 to refresh. And then it's 21 pages once it reloads.
Yeah, I have the same thing. You just have to reload it, not reopen it, but reload it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I scanned through these to make sure all the documents in, but I had the physical copy of the appraisal, so I didn't look at this one. So my apologies, gang.
No worries, please.
This is Harold. I see it loading on my computer. Perhaps your computers have already loaded. Does anybody else see it?
Yes, I do. This is Kathleen.
See it again.
This is Kathleen. So he's using 2 on Ronald Drive, is that right? And they're different styles, they're splits as opposed to ranches. Is that right, 2 splits?
Yeah, exactly.
And one of them backs to a cemetery. I don't know if he made an site adjustment for that or not. I looked at 170 Ronald and it backs to the cemetery. I don't know if the other ones do. Or Ward Terrace, if that's a good comp or not. But back to what? Lawncroft Cemetery, the 170 does.
Ronald. What time are we going till tonight? Mr. Chairman, what time are we on until tonight?
I would like to go at least till 9 o'clock, and if we feel like it, we can go further.
Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bow out now. And if I can come back in a little bit, then I will. I just have a couple of things. And I wasn't scheduled tonight. I did want to help. And I did want to see everybody's face and say hi.
You're certainly a big help, and as long as we have a quorum, we will continue. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you. I'll see if I can come back, okay? Thanks. Bye, everybody.
See you later, Judy.
So, Ronnie, this is Harold speaking. Do you want to review some more information about the comps or this appeal?
One thing that I personally noticed, like, I mean, this is Greg Lake. He kind of was like, look at my appraisal, which I don't blame him for, right? Because he kind of goes into the appraisal, and that's what he does for work, right? And he only has 15 minutes. So the biggest thing that I personally noticed was the adjustments for condition. So when Kathleen said the graveyard, it kind of got me thinking, is that what he meant by condition, or is condition the actual condition, like the condition of the house, right? And so what his biggest thing when using these comparables is just making sure they had similar acres and similar size. But one of the things Kathleen mentions is there's a lot more other variables than that when you're looking at comparable sales. Location, things that are eyesores. I mean, there's other things that would need to be considered. And I don't know how close, like, some of these properties are. I'm not entirely familiar with that area.
These properties are very close to That's right. They're all off of Burroughs Road. 1, 2, 3. They're right in a row.
Yeah.
There's a street.
It goes right across the turnpike.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
This is how they appear to be quite different designs. Comp 1 is a split level. Comp 2, I don't know if you consider that a raised ranch or a split level, because it does appear to have a half staircase up to the second floor. The third, I can't see enough of that. Perhaps that is a raised ranch. I'm not sure.
It's a raised ranch.
Okay.
320, Ronald, it looks like it's a cape or something. He called it a ranch, but it doesn't look like it's in very good shape.
Ronald is a.
Looking at the picture in the thing, the driveway is in very bad shape.
It's a ranch.
Yeah, and the appellant,
320 Ronald
and
is
the
a ranch.
appellant,
Right.
This is Harold, and it is marked fair.
It sold for 355, that ranch, right? So we adjusted it up for 355. We must have taken it way up.
and another thing too, there's a cracking foundation, there's pictures that's attached, but it's still a pretty decent home. It's not like it's in total disrepair, but it does just need cosmetic work mostly. It's a little unkept.
This is Harold, do we know what the quality is of the in-ground pool? Is it a vinyl or concrete?
It says it's
vinyl.
Sorry, that's okay.
Yeah, they have $15,000 worth of value on the card because of the pool. I don't know if the other ones, did he take off for the pool?
I have a
Did he
question.
adjust for the pool? I don't think he
sorry.
adjusted for the pool.
This is Paula. I have a question about the pool. For Ross. I noticed that this pool value is exactly the same as the last one we did with a pool, where we took it off the field card because it wasn't there anymore. Do you depreciate the pool, or is it just always that's the value that you give it?
No, this pool is depreciated to 90% good.
Okay, and so the
It is
last one.
depreciated.
But if nobody goes and sees the pools, because we didn't go to the houses this time, how do we know that 90% good is good, is what it is? So that's what I'm saying. Do we just blanketly say that those vinyl pools in ground, blah, 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 are done at this price without looking at age?
We assume that they're maintained in average condition.
In average condition.
Right.
Okay. So in an average condition, they're valued at 90% of what number?
I think it just lowers by 10%.
16,384.
15,
I'm sorry. No, that's the.
This is Harold. It's been my experience that if there's damage to a vinyl lined pool, it's not a big task to repair the damage to a vinyl pool. If the damage is such that it is irreparable, then typically the homeowner will fill the pool area and there would be no more pool. That's
correct. And I would think that it is fairly easy to repair, but that's not the question I'm asking. That's what I'm trying to get at is this is something on the property that will depreciate over time. They wear out. I mean, after the longer you have them, the more they wear. So I'm just wondering if I could have a pool in my yard that's 20 years old and you can have one that's 4 years old. Are they valued the same, I guess is what I'm getting at.
I believe they would be, unless we knew of were aware of it being deteriorated.
So there's no depreciation based on the age, like of the pool.
I don't believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, just asking.
I know that this one. I can look at this one and tell you that it's been depreciated 10%. the full value would be 18.2.
We don't, do you know when it was put in? Like, do you look at the age of them?
I don't have a actual date.
This
Let me
is
check
Harold.
the permits. I don't have a permit.
Okay.
This is Harold. We see that the in-ground pool vinyl, year built 2001.
So it's 20 years old, basically. And we're giving it the same
Correct.
value if you give a pool that might be 4 years old or 5 years old. So then I guess the answer,
And this is, sorry, go ahead, Paulette.
I'm just saying, I guess the answer is we don't depreciate them like you would depreciate, like a car depreciates or another asset depreciates. We just say that the value is 15 something and we take 10% off no matter how old it is.
This is Harold. Well, the house was built in 1961, 40 years before the pool was installed, and the house itself has a depreciation percentage of 31%. So age does come into play with depreciation. Again, I don't know how the depreciation percentage is determined. And as Ross indicated, we may not be sure either. But be that as it may, we do have a request to reduce to $465,000 and town value of $512,700. And we have an appraisal dated 10/1/2020, which supports an opinion value of $465,000. So I think we have sufficient information to vote. We have a quorum.
And this is Veronique. So also on page 4 of the appraisal, not on the actual page numbers of the document, but page 4 of the appraisal, it shows the pool on the bottom. And I wanted to mention that earlier when I think Kathleen said it wasn't accounted for the pool. So I think it was.
This is Kathleen. I saw it since then. Yeah, it's a $15,000 adjustment, and then the fence in a pool or something. So yeah, it's IG pool/fence, the last line, and he did adjust the other properties by $15,000 for not having a pool. So he gave them. Yeah, he did.
Perfect. I just didn't want to.
Yeah, no.
I just didn't want to interrupt the last discussion, so
No,
my apologies for just.
This is Harold. Also, it is indicated that the assessor, the appraiser, did take into consideration the 12% per year additional valuations. So I think we have sufficient information to vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal in full to the amount of, excuse me, let me get to it, $465,000, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. All those opposed? 1 opposed. The motion is carried. 5 to grant in full to $465,000. 1 opposed. Kathy, would you call the vote, please? And by the way, no
For
abstentions.
appeal, excuse me?
I was going to add to what I said, this is Harold speaking, that there were no abstentions. We have 6 members present.
Okay, thank you. For appeal 452, to grant a reduction in the appraised value to $465,000. The vote was to grant it. The vote was to grant it with 5 in favor and 1 opposing. Nobody abstained, with Kathleen opposing.
Thank you, Kathy. Veronique?
Perfect. This one's a little easier, I think. We'll see. So anyways, appeal number 206. I should probably limit the commentary prior. Appeal number 206 for Vachi Edwards at 52 Fairland Drive. The requested value is $600,000, and the town value is $977,200. And I would like to make a motion to approve this motion, or approve this requested value.
I'll second it. I'm sorry. This is
It's,
Kathleen.
Thank you. Okay, so this house, he gave comparables. He's requesting $600,000. All the comparables are about $600,000. So I asked him, out of all the comparables he gave me, hold on, is this the one that the document didn't come in? Yeah, no, these are in it. So the most comparable he said was number 2, which is 137 Fairland Drive. Now, when he gave comparables, he didn't put it into like a spreadsheet. He just gave us the, I don't know what kind of documents these are called, the GSI documents. And so he said the most comparable was that address, but that sold for $852,600, which is close to what we have for the town value. Comparable number 1, which is a brand new house. It's actually not number 1. It's not in order. So it's 310 Fairland Drive, which is closer to the bottom. That one was a brand new build, sold for $920,000 on September 20. It is lower than the town value, and it's a new build, and it has more square footage. So I do believe we may have this overvalued compared to the comp, but I do not believe it is down to 600, and I'm reluctant making a motion to request an amount higher than that because I just don't like making numbers. I'd rather have them come next year, but that's my opinion.
So, I'm sorry, this is Kathleen. Is it a complete rebuild? Because he paid $375 for it in 2018. So is this a knockdown? I'm just wondering because I see a permit for $247,000 in November of 19. 100% remove garage and build new. And then I see a pool permit pulled with 0% complete. It's just from the street. It looks like it's brand new. It doesn't look like a 1953 house to me. So that's why I'm just wondering, did he provide, any information on, has he done?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He actually said it's not a new house. But looking at the photos and looking at the permits, I mean, someone's definition of new may be different. He said the backyard's not finished and the driveway's not finished, so he's still working on it.
Okay.
This is Harold. If you look at the notes on the property card, it does provide some information as to what was done, in addition to the information regarding the permits, which is if you add those up, it's about $275,000 plus.
Yeah, if you'd like to see some pictures before and after, I think I can show them to you. Let's see if this works.
Would anyone
I'm gonna just
want to see that?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes, please, Ross.
Oh, that was the before.
All right, this isn't very elegant, but can you see the picture of the house now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the house that was there before, and this is a picture during construction. So, you may not be able to see this, but right here is new foundation, and then from here over, it looks like existing. So again, this is what, there's a better picture.
Wow, that's different.
And that's under construction, and that was taken in November of 19, probably when they got the CO.
Mm-hmm. This is Kathleen. The notes do
And
say
this was taken by the
2019.
revaluation.
Got addition and remodel to like new, added a second story and all that in 19. So, I mean, I don't see a $600,000 price supported. I saw a couple of pictures of the comps in the sixes. They don't look anything like that. So I won't support it certainly at this value. I'm not if I would
I agree.
want to adjust anything other than that.
Thank you, Ross, for sharing that.
This is Harold. Did he provide any comps in his neighborhood or on his street?
Yeah, the brand new one, 310 Fairland, the one that was brand new as well, but which sold at $920,000, even though that has more square footage. I mean, it was priced at $944,600. They dropped it and sold it at $920,000.
That new one has almost 1,000 square feet more than his. So it's a lot bigger. And it's new.
Yeah,
So
I just don't think he made his case. That's Mrs. Kathleen, sorry. I don't think he made his
Yeah.
case for 600, and I don't think that was an appropriate way of presenting it. So I prefer to give him a chance to come back with a value that he thinks is more reasonable, as opposed to trying to figure out where he should be.
Yeah, I agree, Paulette. I mean, the thing is, it did sell for $920,000 in September 2020, and yes, it is a lot bigger. And so I do believe he is overvalued. I just don't think he's down to 600.
I'm just saying that I don't think he's. I agree. I do not think that he's at that value. And how unfortunate is it that now he has to wait a year and pay those taxes because of a mistake made in the evaluation? But I guess that's the way it goes. So I will not support that value of 600 either.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal, please raise your hand.
All right, sorry.
All those in favor of granting this appeal, please raise your hands. I have one in favor of granting this appeal. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I have 5. Are you raising your hand for or against Alexis? Alexis, how do you vote?
4, correct? 4.
Okay. We have Alexis voting for granting the appeal. How many do I have voting to not grant the appeal? Again, opposed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I messed that one up.
I can't see you, Alexis, so I needed to see a vote.
The question right now, I voted for the appeal, okay?
Yes, okay.
And this vote round is for the no's, right?
That's correct. For those who
Okay, so
don't
I
want to
voted
grant.
yes. I already raised my hand.
I can't see you, though, so it's hard to
I'm
tell.
having bandwidth issues, so I have to keep turning off my video.
Yes,
I raised my hand in the affirmative before.
that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Thank you. Or you can make a voice, vote as well. So we have 1 in favor of granting the appeal in full, and we have 5 opposed. The vote is 1-5-0. Kathy, could you please, for the record, call the vote?
Okay, for appeal 452, excuse me. For appeal 206, to reduce the appraised value to $600,000, the vote was denied with a vote of 1 in favor, 5 opposing, and 0 abstaining. Kathleen, Peter, Harold, Ronique, and Paulette opposed.
That is correct. Thank you, Kathy. This is Harold speaking. All right, Ronique.
So I do have more, but it's 7:40, and I haven't given you an opportunity, Harold, and I know you have a few in that area, so it's completely up to you.
I do. So why don't I give you a break, and I'll do a half a dozen or so, and then the time permitting, we'll come back to you.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you.
So let's see, where shall I begin? I'll begin at 625, appeal number 625. This property is located at 54 Lilalin Drive. Thank you. The owner is Holly Lanice. The town has the property valued at $327,600. Their requested value is $197,500. I make a motion to grant the appeal in full for $327,600. All those.
This is Ramnik. I'll second that motion.
Okay, Ramnik has seconded. So, hearing for this was Holly Lanice. She's been the owner, Lanice, excuse me. The owner, she's been the owner since 1977. She claims serious flooding issues. She produced a lot of documentation referencing town meetings about the flooding, the London Brook water problems, Brewster River problems. She provided maps and town reports on the Brewster River and pictures of the streets that she lives on, and also pictures of her basement. She did indicate that there was some remediation done, but there are still problems because of drainage problems. And as I said, she presented pictures of her basement. And in her petition, she writes, property value exceeds prevailing market for condition of home, water intrusions in basement, and the constant flooding on sheet has made basement unsellable. Well, I would have to say that she's not just selling her basement. So, and I have suffered great flooding problems in my home, as many have, because of storm sewers and drainage problems in and around their property. So I hear what she's saying. I feel for her. Requesting a reduction to $197,500 from the town's value of $327,600 seems pretty steep to me. I don't believe that she presented any comps, just reports on the town's discussions of water issues and drainage problems that affected her home, including pictures of flooded streets and backed up sewer drains and river culverts. So I don't think that she has necessarily proven her case. Folks, what do we think?
He really wants to document that water. He had a lot of documents on that.
Yes, yes. And I would ask the assessor's office, do we take into consideration these reports that come from other town commissions?
Yeah, this is Ross. I don't always see them until, usually somebody will bring them in and raise the issue, either through the BAA or directly to us.
Okay. I want to check one other thing, and that is the coding for the property. Well, it is 0.2 acres. The neighborhood code is 85. There's a neighborhood adjustment, which I think is throughout this 85 neighborhood has an adjustment of 1.270, and her land value is appraised at $274,200, and her property value actually did decrease slightly from the previous reval period. So the land, I think, is proportionate to the neighborhood codes. And I'm inclined to deny this, taking into consideration that there was a decrease in her dwelling property value, the dwelling portion of her property from the previous revaluation. Any comments?
Yeah, this is Veronique. I was trying to find through the documents if there's any kind of mention of a cost that they would recommend to try to repair, because I did see that some of the things they could do is build a retention or detention wall, create some more inlets and outlets. I'm sure those are really, really, really hard to do, right? So I'm sure she has water issues. I just don't see how she can get to that number. And I just don't see anywhere on the report. And they probably it's just not possible to figure out how much would be needed to not have that issue, or how much it should be lowered from the value of the house or the appraisal.
Well, this is Harold. I don't know if Ross has any comments on that, but I think that water in the basement is a common problem that many Fairfield residents have. There are companies that do have some remediation and some techniques for dealing with that. They're not inexpensive, but certainly they're not to the level of what we have here of over $200,000. Or no, over $100,000. Let me put it that way. Kathleen?
This is Kathleen. Yeah, I just was going to say, you know, all those streets, they've had a very hard time. They're trying to do things with the Rooster River, as you can see from the plans. So that's definitely in the works there. I just don't know, unless Ross can look at the GIS and tell us that she's exceptionally aggrieved, you know, on the GIS on her property compared to everybody else on those three streets. I know it's a problem for everybody over there, but I don't know that we've put land, you know, conditions on those properties. Those three streets, the Bennett Street and all those, they, you know, they all had very, very bad flooding from the Rooster River. And, you know, obviously the town is trying to address it. I just don't know if she has it worse than everybody else. That's what I'm just trying to figure out.
So this is Harold. I would like to call a vote.
Can Ross just check the GIS and know, you know, she's not like, you know, a foot lower than everybody else? Are you, is that what he's doing?
Yeah, this is Ross. I'll pull it up. Just take a sec.
Okay.
All right, this is Harold. Before we vote, let's take a look at documentation that might have an impact on this property. While we're waiting, I will say that the Rooster River has been a problem for many people in the Stratfield area, and continues to be somewhat.
It's Kathleen. I'm just looking at the sales data too. There are a couple homes that have sold, you know, in 2018, 19 on that street. Cape, 1941 Cape. They're much bigger though, 2,400 square feet, and the Colonial was 2,000 square feet. They sold 425, 450. Those are in the other.
Yeah, this is Ross. You can see here, this is the 122-foot contour, and 124 is behind the house. Across the street is 118, 116, so it appears to be sloping down this way, and up to the rear, because you can see these contours getting tighter, going up to about 150 back here on Churchill Road. Her house is probably at 123 feet, give or take.
But it continues to go down, is that right? It gets lower as you go across the street?
Yes.
In other words, she's not at the
I'm pulling
lowest
up the
point in the
FEMA.
neighborhood. Okay.
There's the FEMA flood map now. You can see it's across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Harold, and from the pictures we saw, it appears that a lot of the water backup is because there's improper maintenance of the culverts and where the water passes through. So just as storm drains get filled up with leaves or ice and snow during rains and will flood streets, I think that's the problem, but it's not one that should have such an impact on her property. So if it's okay with everyone, I'd like to suggest that we move to a vote. So all those in favor of granting this appeal in full for $197,500, raise your hand. I see one in favor of granting the appeal. All those opposed, raise your hand. I see 5 opposed. The motion is denied. Score of 1-5-0. Kathy, can you please call the vote?
Okay, for appeal 625 to grant the request to reduce the appraised value to $197,500. The vote was denied with a vote of 1 in favor, 5 opposed, and nobody abstaining. Kathleen, Harold, Alexis, Peter, and Ronique opposed.
Thank you, Kathy. The next one I have is 489. The property is 26 Lola Street, Fairfield. The owner is Marcia Barkfay, Boxay, excuse me. Baksay. Marcia came before me for a hearing and stated that, well, let me first say, I make a motion to approve the appellate's opinion of fair market value of $371,100. Do I have a second?
This is Kathleen.
Second.
Kathleen has seconded the motion.
Somebody should.
And thank you. Excuse me, I'm taking accounted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Still have 6 members. Okay. Marcia came before me for a hearing, and she said, according to our records, there has been improvements on this house. She purchased the house on 9/2019, and she presented a building inspection with many concerns. No improvements have been made, and the attic, she indicated, is not finished, although the property card says it is. As I said, there's no mention of improvements on the property card, just recommendations from HomeQuest, an inspection report. Let me see, I don't believe that there were any other comments presented except for the inspection report. The house was upgraded more than 10 years ago. It has a 45-year-old furnace, some of the other things that you mentioned. Concerns are with the condition issues. And I asked if she would put the house on market at her appeal price, and she said no. So she had some other figure in mind. The question that I think I posed to the assessor's office was why on the property card it indicates an attic expansion finished, and she says that the attic was not finished. I do notice dormers in the attic and a vent. No, maybe that's an alarm box on the roof. But I would ask the assessor if there's any record of the attic expansion being finished.
Yeah, this is Ross. Just to address the improvements question, what she's looking at is the building value on the card. Not that there was improvements, it's just that the property is improved with a house.
Yes.
I looked at the expansion attic question, and it would appear that this, even from the pictures that were provided, that the second floor is finished. If you look on page 12 of the report, you can see the sloped roof and a dormer. A skylight, and you can see that skylight in the picture of the front of the house. I think she might have been questioning the area above the second floor. There's also pictures on page 15 that show the double windows in the gable end.
Mm-hmm. Harold, this is Kathleen. Did she pay $442 for it, right? Last year or the year before?
Yeah. That's what's
I
getting
think
me.
I think we can call for a vote, Harold, or I'm ready to vote. If she paid $442.
Very good. This is Harold. I will call for a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. The motion is opposed.
I'm voting to abstain, Harold, because I missed about 2 minutes of the conversation. I didn't get to actually have some pertinent points.
I have no votes in favor of granting the appeal. I have 5 votes do not opposed and I have 1 abstention. So the vote is 0-5-1. Kathy, could you please call the vote?
Okay, for appeal 489 to reduce the appraised value to $371,100. The vote was denied. Vote was 0 in favor, 5 opposing, and 1 abstaining.
Thank you,
Kathleen,
Kathy.
Harold, Peter, and Ronique opposed, and Alexis abstained.
The next one I'd like to do is appeal number 139. This appeal was presented by Harriet Buster on behalf of the owner, Marianne Carter. The address is 411 Roanoke Road. The town has the value of $439,400. The requested value is $360,000. I make a motion to grant this appeal in full to the $360,000. That's the requested amount. Is there a second?
This is Kathleen. I'll second it.
Thank you. So this is Howard. I must say that sometimes I don't have the screen up because I'm looking at the information. So announcing your name when you do a second would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Kathleen.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, if I bring this information up, there's about 20 pages. Now, the reason for the appeal as stated is to determine market value as of 10/1/2020. That was what was stated on as the reason for the appeal. Now, there was an appraisal dated January 28th, 2021, and some comps were presented. Comp 1 had a time adjustment of 10%, as is often the case by appraisers. It was listed as an unqualified sale for some reason. It's a 3 rooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It has 1,328 square feet. Sounds correct. Let me go down and look further.
This is Kathleen. The subject property has 1,075. I think the first comp has 1,300 square feet.
That's correct. Also, the land is, I believe, larger. Comp 2 has similar square footage of 1,032, smaller acreage, and that's sold in the period for $385,000. About the same size home, but the subject is over half an acre, whereas these other properties have smaller acreage. And yet the subject's land was assessed for only $75,000 more. The dwelling value was lowered from the prior valuation period. In looking at the homes, the subject's property is considered to be a what? Let me see. A cape. The comps are listed as conventional. So I don't know how that computes. I see that comp 3 was adjusted for a conventional concession. 2 and 1 were not. So I don't know if the comps are really relevant as they relate to the subject property. But I look for input from the rest of the panel.
Harold, excuse me, I just want to point out that the style of the homes is listed as design, under design style. They're all capes. The thing that says conventional unknown, and conventional concession has sales of financing concessions. So that has to do with giving money back at the closing. That's not the style of the house. That conventional doesn't relate to the style of the house.
I see. Okay.
They're all capes.
And I do notice that, this is Ronique, I do notice that she did make a time adjusted for 138 Papera for closing on April 2020, but not for June 20th closing. I wonder if it's just because it's less than 4 months apart. And I do know she made a little note about COVID and how it's not. She didn't adjust it specifically for COVID, but it's not. She kept that in mind for this scale. I do like that she did the time adjusted value, but I'm certainly positive on the kind of comparable homes. I don't know if they're really comparable on location.
This is Harold. I see the biggest difference being in the size of the property's land.
Didn't she adjust somewhere for that?
I would hope so. I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, Con 2 is almost the same size, but sloping. Doesn't appear to be any adjustment for the site, and no adjustments for the other two, which are 0.23 acres level and 0.33 acres level. So I see no adjustment for the size of the property.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either, actually. I didn't notice that.
So I think that that's problematic here.
Well, only because we don't see the property really. You could be right. It could be problematic, but it could also be that when she looked at the property, two are sloping, two aren't. But the ones that are closest in size, the subject and comp number 1, closest in size of property, it could be related to what they're like when you're on them, and we don't know that. You know, it's 0.54 acres. If that sloping is worse and there's less usable land, you might have just left it alone, or maybe it's equal to the amount of usable land. There's no way to know what she did.
Sure.
I don't know. I can't tell either.
Well, if you look at the photo and maybe we can look at aerials, but it does look like the land goes down behind her house as well.
Okay.
It's Kathleen. It does look, I mean, I'm just looking at, she's coming down to her land value of 355, right, by coming to 360. So I'm just trying to figure out, I mean, is her house, you know, and I was looking at sales on Romanok, looks like there's some, you know, a few tear downs on there that are new construction. I just called up the GIS on the map around her property. And, you know, she's got a big piece of land. So if they're doing knockdowns in there and, you know, putting up new houses, I wouldn't want to put her lower than her land, you know, than if her land is really worth 350, you know, do we want her, is 360 appropriate? So I haven't looked totally at the field cards, but like 459 Romanov looks like it's a new construction. And where did I see another one? Maybe 485 Romanov. I'm not sure. There's some big there's a big one at 347 Romanok. And so I'm just wondering if that's what's happening in there. I don't know, but that's what I, you know, on that particular street, that's all.
But if we don't know that they're sloping, then we can't really compare them because we're accusing the appraiser of that, saying that, well, we should make an adjustment. If we don't know that those lots are sloping, that were knockdowns, then I'm guessing that they're probably not, or maybe not as much of a slope, but I don't know for sure, so I can't say. So then we can't apply that to our benefit if we're saying that the appraiser didn't make an adjustment.
This is how there was a lowering of the assessed value for the dwelling from the previous year, but obviously the land value has increased as in many neighborhoods. So I don't think that lowering this to just the land value is sufficient. There's sufficient justification for that, even though she has an appraisal.
Let's see, what was the land value before? 355. Looking at market value, house like that. I don't know. I think.
Are we okay to vote?
I think we can call a vote. All those
Sorry,
in
Paula.
favor.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, Ronique, did you want to speak?
Paulette said something, or was saying something.
That's okay. I was just going to say that looking at everything, I do have some questions, but because we're supposed to be looking at fair market value, and I look at the house and the sloping lot, I look at that and say, what's the fair market value? And I believe that she may be right at 360. Look at the condition of the house, the size. So now that's just my take on it. I'm looking at it purely from market value. That's all.
Kathleen, regarding your earlier comment, did you looked at comps on the street, whether they were tear downs or if their property values are similar to hers? Whether they were rebuilt or property or considered tear down? Did you find any comparable sized lots?
I'm just looking like, here's a, what does she have, a half acre? Like
Yes.
224 Romanock is I think AYB means year built. So 224 Romanock is a colonial, but it's 4,300 square feet, sold for $1,175,000. I don't know if that, and it was built in 2020. So I'm guessing that must be, and there's a couple 2019s on the street. I'm just looking at the acreage, all about a half acre lot.
What number was that? 225?
Selling it to millions. Yeah, 224 Romanock, 75 Romanock, and 8. Sorry, take it back. 75 and 8 are Romanock Place. They're not Romanock Road. So 224 Romanock Road was one. And again, because it's sloping over there, you don't really know how the land, it's tough to say, does she have a buildable lot for her house over there? But it looks like there are some big ones on her side of the street, unless she's much different than everybody else. But the big ones I saw with a quick click, those are about 5 to 10 years older. But I did see the new, looks like a new construction sale at 224 Romanock. But she's at 411, so I don't know whether that's even close to her or not.
And
Rob had
again,
his hand up.
we don't know if the lot is sloping. And also, I'm looking here, she has a septic system. She's not hooked up to sewers. She's got a sloping lot with a septic system. That's not good. And somebody buying that house, unless it's a builder to tear it down, has to hook up to the sewers within a certain amount of time, I believe. So that will lower the value as well. First of all, most people don't want the septic, and then they have to hook up to run the pipes, hook up to the sewers, and pay those fees. Plus then pay that big fee, that assessment, that 20-year assessment you have to do. So that lowers the value too. So she might have been taking that into consideration. So I think she did mention something about crediting the other dwellings or taking money off because they did have sewers. So that's why I'm not so sure that isn't the right estimate of market value. So that's why I'm thinking, I have some questions about it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, this is Harold. Looking at 224 Romanock Road, and I don't know how sufficiently far it is from the subject property, but that land size is just about half an acre, 0.07 more. But that land value is appraised at $351,400.
Again, we don't know if it's level.
Right. Yeah, this is Kathleen. That lot sold as a tear down for $325,000 in September of 19. So just prior to the revow, the lot closed, and then it sold for $1,075,000 after the new house was constructed. So 325 is what he got for that land. Looking at the picture, it looks like it slopes in the front. Looking there, the picture is not finished on the vision card. But that will give you an idea of, land value, at least that particular property that was sold as a tear down for 320, I'm guessing, as a tear down to a developer in September of 19.
And the appraiser had the ability to use that if she wanted to. Somehow she chose not to. I don't know why. We don't know why. And again, we're not qualified to pull the assessment, pull the appraisal apart and start picking it and looking for other things. It stands for what it is. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's a valid appraisal. So based on our handbook, I'm just following the handbook guidelines that we're supposed to be looking at what the appraiser does. Unless we do something blatantly wrong, we're not qualified to really examine that appraisal.
I think I'm ready to vote.
I'm ready.
Excuse me, I want to check one more thing.
Oh, sorry. And I think Ross had his hands up earlier. I wasn't sure if you had something, Ross.
No, you kind of moved on, so
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
that's all right.
Yeah, we've talked about the slope of the land and issues that are not clear to us, but I will call it for a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested amount of $360,000, please raise your hand. I have 2 in favor of granting this appeal. All those opposed, raise your hand. I have 4 opposed. The vote is 2 in favor, 4 opposed, no abstention. Kathy, could you please pull the vote?
For Appeal 139 to reduce the appraised value to $360,000, the vote passed. No. The vote failed with 2 people. Oh, wait a minute.
That's okay.
Let me start over. For Appeal 139 to reduce the appraised value to $360,000, the vote failed. 2 people voted in favor and 4 opposed. Harold, Kathleen, Peter, and Ronique opposed. Sorry about that.
No, that's quite all right. You're right on target. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And Harold, I should have mentioned earlier, if you keep going if you want, but if you ever wanted a break, I have things ready, so I just wanted to just let you know, but keep going if you want.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm ready too.
Nice. Go for it.
All right. The next one I have is appeal number 266. The property is located at 92 Hawthorne Drive. The property owner is the Compass Rose Property Company. Compass Rose Property Company. Okay, I'm just looking at other information. I have contact information. Okay. The appellant's opinion of fair market value is $395,000. The town value is $461,800. I make a motion to grant the appellant's opinion of market value in full to $395,000. Do I have a second?
This is Ronique. I'll second that.
Ronique seconds my motion. The appellant came before the board and stated that the property was purchased for $395,000 and paid as a full asking price in December 2019, and believes that that's the fair market value. So I did a little bit of research. There's no MLS listing for this. The only MLS listing I could find was the sale of the property in December for $395,000. Looks like a very nice 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. The appellant, however, did not take into consideration the 10 months from the sale of the property to the October 1st, 2020 date. And if we take the calculation that many of the appraisers use of 1% a month, that's for 10 months, 10% of 395,000 is another $39,500, which would bring the value to $434,500. The town has it valued at $461,800. There's a difference there of some $27,000, $27,300. The owner did go before an informal hearing or requested an informal hearing and was denied any change in the valuation. And that's basically what I have.
This is Kathleen. I thought, did it say that they were denied or that they couldn't get one?
Requested but denied, no appointment available.
Yeah, so I think they didn't have one. That's how I would interpret that. I'm looking at the card and I don't see no change. You know how sometimes the field card says no change or something when they've been denied? But I don't see that on the field card either.
Okay.
So
Paulette,
I would think they didn't have one.
I'm sorry, this is Paulette. I didn't know they could refuse to give you an appeal, a hearing.
They were
Informal.
full. They were full.
That's too bad. These
I don't
people
know. I don't know if they were too late. It was after the period, or they just couldn't schedule anymore. I mean, I can't speak for the reval company that did the informal hearings. I just go by what he wrote on the petition.
Okay. Well, then my feeling about
Veronique, go ahead.
my feeling about this is that she paid fair market value at the time. And you all may want to go tacking on a point per month. However, that's not in our purview to do. We're not the appraisers because the appraiser does it, but the appraiser also has the ability to make adjustments in other places that we aren't able to do. So looking at apples to apples, it's not our job to, because not every property went up that 1%. That's an average. We don't know if this one would have because we're not the appraiser and we're not looking at all the other facets of the appraisal. And again, I'll refer to that same quote. We are not qualified to do those things. So she paid fair market value. That's what it was. We have no way to know what it would be today or on October of 2020. So I can't do that. I can't go raising somebody's property value just by going at a percentage a month. It's just not right. That's not our job.
That's a very good point, Paulette, and I understand what you clearly what you're saying. So give the 10% or not give the 10%. I think we still need to determine whether the requested amount to the purchase price is still valid or if it should be something else. Now, he didn't put the house in the market yet. This is Harold speaking. He didn't put the house on the market. The town has it valued at $461,800. Do we believe that he would put it on the market today or as of October 1st for what he paid for it? Or did he purchase it as a potential investment? And as we know, investments can go up, they can go down. But given the name of this company, I think that they are sophisticated purchasers.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a rental,
Yeah.
Harold?
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
I'm sorry, this is Kathleen. Is it a rental? It's a Compass Realty, right? I just was curious. It does back to the Hawthorne substation, which those neighbors have been, somewhat aggrieved by the UI projects in the back there. I don't know, what other things are selling for on that street, but there is there are the power lines and things in the back. I don't know if he has an adjustment for that or not. I know other properties on Hawthorne have adjustments for the power lines.
Well, yes, there are other properties that also abut that power station and the power lines.
Right.
There looks like there's a lot of foliage, a lot of trees behind there. A fence could remedy that too, to a certain extent. I don't know if there's a lot of buzzing or noise coming from that power station. We can look at neighborhood properties, but if we believe that this owner has purchased this home for a gain in value, then maybe we can vote based upon that assumption.
This is Paulette. We cannot assume that that's what it is. We're making up stories. We have no idea why they purchased it. They could have purchased it for a family member to live in. They could have purchased it for rent. We don't know why they did it. Certainly, you don't buy a property that backs up to power lines to do something big to it. You're not going to increase that value by making the house bigger. So I don't know why they did it. Maybe the guy who bought it is going to live in it. Maybe who's there. We don't know. We can go on a million different scenarios. We can't.
Okay. I would ask, well, Kathleen, you want to speak, but I think I would also like to ask the assessor's office if there is any consideration given to the neighbors' properties because of their proximity to the power station.
So this is Kathleen. There are two sales on that street in recently, like in the last few months. Both ranches built in the 50s, half-acre lots, 15 to 1,700 square feet. One sold for 432 and the other one sold for 440. Now, and it looks like they do have adjustments on their cards for the power lines. So given those two sales on the street, and he paid $395 and he is at 461, I'm not sure you should go as low as $395. So I would put him somewhere between the 432 and the 440. And if we did it with an adjustment for the power lines, I would be comfortable with that. But it doesn't look like he has an adjustment for the, does he? Let me look at the other two.
Kathleen,
Two
those,
other sales.
This is wrong. If the neighbor to the left has no adjustment, and neither does the subject, when you get two to the left, one house directly away from the power lines, there's 2% taken off. And then the house whose property the power lines pass over, they have a 5% reduction on the land.
And so I see the 145 Hawthorne and the 254 Hawthorne. Those are the two sales for 432 and 440 in October of 2020. They closed.
how many bedrooms on those houses?
I'm sorry?
How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms?
Let's see. The 145 Hawthorne is built in 1954. 3 bedroom, 2 baths. Living area 1,500 square feet, 0.52 acres. The other one is also a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,700 square feet living area, 0.59 acres. Sold for 440 October 15.
And he has a 2 bedroom. 2 bath.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't look at all. Is square footage is similar or no? What's it?
Looking on the square footage now.
This is Harold. Yes, but in July of 2019, a rear deck was added and the kitchen was remodeled.
That's before he sold it though, or before it sold.
Yes.
All right.
Well, I agree that there may be too much of a hike in the town's valuation, but going down to the purchase price of 10 months before as the value for the entire property, which a house looks like it's very good condition. It's been staged in many of the photos in the listing. I'm inclined to think of to grant a partial, and the number that I come up with is $434,500.
That's too much money for a 2 bedroom house.
It is.
There's a huge problem with bedrooms and 3 bedrooms between 1 bath and 2 baths when that's the case. It's not, they're not apples to apples because of that 2 bedroom thing. That's a huge thing for people buying houses. There's usually a bigger discrepancy when it's only 2 bedrooms and only 1 bath. He has 2 baths. So.
That's true. So, Paulette, if you were going to come up with a number that is, as Kathleen stated, between the ask price and the 440,000, what number would you consider?
Unfortunately, Harold, I'm going to tell you that I would consider the sale price because that is the market value. We have no, that's just what I would not be jacking it up for now. Sale price. That's the market value. It's the price. Right. The handbook describes it better. I don't remember the exact words, but it's a whole makes it more clear. I'd have to find the page it's on, but they look at market value as that kind of a thing. The price somebody would pay. An able-bodied buyer would pay for that house. And in a 2 bedroom house, I don't think that that's an unreasonable number.
All right.
Just looking at this is Peter. Just looking at the, I know it's not, Zillow, right? But so as a realtor, they're looking at 513,000 for this home. So even though this might make 2 bedrooms,
Not that. No way it would never be. That's realtor.com or Zillow?
It was Zillow.
Yeah, Zillow has no basis in fact. People love to use it, but it really is not accurate.
Understood. Okay, anyone else have any comments or input to this appeal? I'll call all those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value of $395,000, please raise your hand. I see one. Alexis, how do you vote? How do you? Alexis, how do you vote?
Luther?
Alexis, how do you vote? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You're muted. Do you vote in favor of?
I vote in favor of it. Oh my gosh, I'm losing it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All those opposed, please raise your hand. The motion is not carried. The appeal is not approved. The vote is 2-4-0. Kathy, please call the vote.
For Appeal 266, to reduce the appraised value to $395,000, the vote failed with 2 in favor and 4 opposing. Nobody abstained. Harold, Kathleen, Peter, and Ronique opposed.
Thank you. The next one I have is appeal number 473. The owner of the property is located at 81 Lindley Drive. The property owner is Robert Alvarado and Joyce Gibney. The appellant's opinion of fair market value is $378,100. The town's value is $493,300. I make a motion to grant the appellant's fair market value opinion of $378,100. Do I have a second?
This is Ronique, I'll second.
I can't hear a hand. Ronique seconds the motion. Okay. The appellant states there's a huge discrepancy in market value. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, single-story ranch, 1,076 square feet with an unfinished basement and unfinished attic. Okay. There were some comps presented, I believe. Let me get to this. Okay.
A lot of comps.
A lot of comps, not all of them within the neighborhood, not all of similar design. This is a single-story ranch home. I look particularly at the 151 Palmer, which is a colonial. Similar land size, slightly under. The land is valued at $323,500. The house size is 1,284 square feet, and the town has it assessed at $418,800. It's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. And then I also look at the 104 Candlewood, where the land size is 3.317, and the land is valued at $313,900, slightly smaller than the previous one mentioned at 151 Palmer, and it's 11,028 square feet. and it's a ranch, so it's similar to the subject property, but there was 18,000 in renovations done in June 15th, 2020. But what disturbed me about this is this particular land has a factor of neighborhood adjustment of 1.3. Oh, wait, let me back this up. Okay, a second. The subject property, I was looking at the wrong number. The subject
1.27.
property has a size adjustment of 1.3. And I have not seen this before in this neighborhood, neighborhood 85. And so that's certainly, that 30% more certainly bumps up the land value considerably. And that bothered me because I didn't understand why the comps that were presented and other properties that we've been discussing in this neighborhood had a size adjustment of 1, and this has a size adjustment of 1.3. So I'm not sure why that is, and I would, if someone knows, I would defer to you to explain it. And I see Ross's hand up.
I could figure it out, but it's going to take me a bit. So if you want to come back to this, I can probably get you an answer tomorrow. But I'll have to do a little research to see what's going on with this particular property.
Well, because I think the 30% adds 127,000 plus in value to this property.
Right.
And I just don't understand what the condition is that would cause that to happen. So if it's beneficial to the appellant to get an answer to this, I would withdraw my motion and hold it for review later.
And if that number,
Okay.
this is Ronique, if that number is correct, Harold, if your math is right, then that would have brought, we lowered it to 1% rather than 1.3, it would end up being 367,300, which is less than what they're requesting.
This is Harold, it's not 1%. It's the difference between a multiplying factor of 1 versus a multiplying factor of 1.3.
Right. What I did is I took the amount that you just said, how much it would increase it by. What was it, 100? I forgot the amount. I just put it in my calculator when you said it. And I subtracted it from the town value. But I just don't like that he took the averages of all of these homes, and that's how he came up with the number out of homes that are, we can wait for the assessor's office. I'm belaboring the point.
I think we need to find out why there was a multiplier that was 30% higher than other properties that we've seen.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do one more and then hand it back to
Excuse
you.
me, this is Kathy. For that appeal, I'm going to list it as being withdrawn, correct?
Correct. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Withdrawn or take no action?
I don't know that there's a difference.
Well, this is Kathleen. We've been, I don't know, just to be consistent, we've been using no action when we need more information. That's all. As
All right.
opposed to,
Then we'll use that verbiage in the minutes. Thank you. And I'm afraid that the second, this appeal number, bad printing. 53. Appeal number 53. Suffers from the same question. As I see on the card, there's a size adjustment of 1.3 again. So I think it falls into the same category, and I suggest we take no action until we get clarification as to why that code exists, which it appears significantly increases the land value. So I suggest we take no action on this one either, which means, Ronnie, that you're up.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So,
Wait,
next
excuse
appeal
me,
that I
so
have-
was there a motion and a second, or usually it gets
No
withdrawn after there's a motion and a second?
All right,
There's no motion made.
that's fair. I will make a motion to grant this appeal to the appellant's opinion of fair market value of $405,000. Do I have a second?
This is Veronico. Oh, go ahead, Kathleen.
Yeah, either one.
Kathleen seconds the motion, but given the information that we're seeking, I will withdraw this motion for later consideration. Take no action.
We're taking
Yeah, Carol, this is Kathleen. I see that on the other, you've got a one at 45 Lindley. I see the same thing. I see a size adjustment of 0.13, 1.3. On the 45 Lindley, it's appeal number, it's right next, well, I sorted them in appeal number order, but it's appeal number 82. That's not the one we were talking about, right? That's another one.
82 has not been discussed yet.
Right, they have a 1.3 on them, and I'm just gonna check, there's one more on Lindley, appeal number 312. Let me look at that card and see if that has the same thing. Yeah, that has a 1.3 adjustment on it as well. That's a half acre property. But I'm just, I'm looking at whatever else we have on the list for Lindley. So, okay, those guys all maybe just need to be at least looked at so we can figure out what's going on with those. Right, there's 4 on Lindley, I think. Let me just sort and see if there's another one.
Well, if we do it, this is Harold, if we do a sort of the
There's 4
65
on.
or so appeals that we have for street address, we can find them easily enough. But for example, on Adley Road, which is another one that I heard, it drops back down to 1.
Okay, yeah, the 4 on Lindley all appear to have that. I don't know if all of Lindley has that, but those 4 do.
This is how, well, then it would be worthwhile to find out what makes Lindley special.
Right.
Okay, so I take no action. And pass over the appeals, Ronnie.
Okay. I'll try to make this quick because I know it's close to the 9 o'clock hour. But so this next appeal number is 627 for Stephen and Kelly Lackner at 97 Webb Road. The appellant is requesting $850,000 for a appraised value of $1,025,500. And I would like the motion to approve the requested value of $850,000.
Did you make a motion? I'll second it. The fact that you made it,
Yes,
or
thank you.
you're looking for one? Okay.
I was waiting for you, Kathleen.
I am still waiting.
So this was rather interesting because what people were asking for in this neighborhood is around the ballpark of what the town values. However, it does not sell for that value. And the reason why I say that is they put this house originally on the market for $1.1 million, which is higher than what we have appraised. They couldn't get that for a while. And so they kept dropping it. They dropped it at $988, they dropped it at $959, they dropped it at $899. And finally, he bought it in October of 2020 for $800,000. He's requesting $850,000. So it's 13 months prior to the October 1 date, right? And he bought it for $800,000, and he's requesting for $850,000. He said there was a comparable around the corner for him that sold at $8,799 around the corner. I couldn't find that property, and he couldn't recall the address. And he said it was 300 square foot less. And so he felt comfortable doing it at $850,000, even though he paid $800,000.
but because it was 13 months later. And the previous owner tried selling it for $988, but had no offers. And so he tried selling it for $1 million and sat for 7 months. So this was interesting because, I mean, that's technically what they were trying to get for it, but they couldn't. Any questions?
This is Peter. Can you just explain again because it looks like it was sold in, almost September of 19, right? Is that correct?
August. Or yeah, I'm sorry. August, I believe.
Yeah,
Of
right.
19. End of August,
8/27.
early September. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he bought it for 800. He's requesting 850. He doesn't believe it went up to 1.1 because it was on the market for 1.1 originally, but they just couldn't sell it then. Well, that market for more than 7 months, but yeah.
This is Harold. Ronnie, could you please repeat the appeal number?
Yeah, 627.
Thank you.
It's 4,600, 4,700 square feet. Big, right?
It's big. It's a gorgeous house.
Yeah.
It's a really nice house.
Any thoughts, comments?
I'm inclined to approve it just mostly because he did pay 800 13 months prior, and he's requesting 850. Unless anyone wanted to do a time adjusted, but I don't like making numbers and then having them stuck with it. So whatever he requested, I'm more inclined to lean with what he requested.
Okay.
Well, were there any? I know we're talking about a recent sale, but was there any other comps that he used to make the case?
So he didn't bring it in with him, but when I did meet with him, he did say a house around the corner sold for $799,000, and it was 300 square foot less. Now, 300 square foot and a house this big may not be a huge difference, but I could be wrong. But it sold for $799. He didn't have the address, and I can't find it.
This is Harold. So I see that the roof was replaced, stripped and re-roofed for an amount of $22,000. And so I'm wondering if he's adjusting his price to $850 to include that and then some more to be fair. So I think that's maybe how we got to the $850 number.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably not just the video.
This is Kathleen. I don't think he's got 0% on it, so I don't think he's being taxed on it at all. Because 0% complete. Maybe he just didn't get the CO or whatever. He didn't get the inspection after he did the work.
Oh yeah.
I'm guessing that's what it is, but I don't know. So he doesn't really have any value, whether, I don't know. I don't even know if we change it. If someone re-roofs their house, do we increase their value for that?
Well, this is Harold. Perhaps there was no inspection done after that to determine whether the re-roofing was completed.
Mm-hmm.
Any further
Yeah, this is Ross.
Yes, Ross, please.
We don't typically add for a roof. We don't change the depreciation unless we've taken something specific off for like a really bad roof. If we put a functional on for a bad roof, we would take the functional off. But, a roof, we would consider that routine maintenance. Same with if you just do windows or just do siding.
This is Harold. However, he did apply for a permit to re-roof.
Mhm.
Is that the case? Okay.
Yep.
And so I will call a vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the full requested value of $850,000, please raise your hand. Alexis, do you vote? The appeal is granted in full with a vote of 6 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. Thank you. Kathy, would you please read the vote?
For Appeal 627, to reduce the appraised value to $850,000, the vote was six in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstaining.
Thank you,
Granted.
Kathy. Shall we squeeze in some more?
Sure.
Up to you guys.
Yeah.
I've got one more. I got some work I got to get done. So,
Yeah, me too. I can do one more, but that's it.
Okay, one more, and if one person leaves, we will still have a quorum. If 2 people leave, we will not be able to continue. So let's continue with the quorum we have.
Okay. So I'll try to make this one quick. I don't know if it's going to be. But appeal number 244. I don't know why. So appeal number 244 is for Daniel Apparovich at 10 Eagle Drive. The requested value is $800,000 with a town value of $940,300. I motion to approve the requested value of $800,000.
Kathleen, I'll second it.
Great. Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
So for this one, he did his own assessment or comparable, and you'll see that he did a chart showing some of the other properties that he thinks that are comparable to his, some of which were 167 Conwood, 131 Algonquin, 64 Lookout. The one that he was an outlier between all of them was 37 Eagle. 37 Eagle was recently renovated, and it was a rental property prior, and it is a more private lot. His the window faces a loud street. It's on a busy road with traffic, especially through the country club. I'm not completely familiar with Eagle Road. I know it's not too far. I know it's I think it is a busy road. But anyway, he bought it for $720,000, received 5,000 for sessions back in 2017. There were break-ins in the neighborhood. His neighborhood's on the corner. There was a break-in into that house. It's really close to that Bridgeport border, he was saying. But even 37 Eagle, that did sell for $770,000. He's at 10 Eagle, right? And that was recently renovated. And that was sold for $770,000 on August 2020.
This is Howard. Okay, this is a small cul-de-sac, I believe, off of Algonquin, also close to the golf course. I'm familiar with the house. I think it sits on the corner, but I can't be completely sure of that. But also, the appraisal that we have is dated 2017 and was done for a bank, perhaps for refinancing.
Oh yeah. So the appraisal. Thank you. My apologies. Yeah. So the appraisal was done in 2017. I completely neglected the appraisal because 2017.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have mentioned that.
Well, this is Kathleen. He paid $360 for it in 2018. So did he completely redo it? Am I looking at the wrong card? 10 Eagle Drive, right?
Yeah, he paid $360 in 2018. It looks really well done, so he must have redone it.
We haven't seen any permits pulled, but
It's,
right, the
it's
age
actually
of the home
a
is
real.
still 1991. Okay.
This is how, there's no way that house had a proper valuation of $360,000 at that time. I know someone who lives on the street, and they purchased their house even prior to that and paid much more for a similar dwelling. So I question that sales price totally.
It's an unqualified, so
And if we look at the prior assessment, it's assessed for $644,000, and now it's $658,210. So it's not a big jump up in assessed value from the prior revaluation period to the current reval period.
yeah, that's kind of what I was kind of leaning toward. It's not considerable, but I figured I'd ask you guys about it.
All right, I think we have sufficient information unless anyone has some further comments or questions.
Oh, this is Kathleen. Ronique, where were you leaning with this? I was a little confused.
I was leaning towards a denial because I don't think so. He's using 37 Eagle as his most comparable, and he closed it at $699. Yes, he is requesting $800, but I don't. He didn't really. He renovated it, so there's no like baseline, and so I was leaning towards declining it because he paid. Apparently, I didn't see this in records, but he paid $720,000 in January of 2017. 720 in 3 years to 8. I don't think it should be 940, but I don't think it should be 800. What are you thinking, Kathleen?
Yeah, I was just looking at, I'm comparing it to the 37 Eagle, right, which sold for $770, but that's 2,800 square feet. 1992 construction. Where did you, I saw the 350. Where did you see that he bought it for 720?
Yeah, I didn't find it. Let me look that up. I must have.
He did. I bought it for 720.
All right, that's not on that field card. Am I looking at the wrong field card?
I think there's 2 deeds. That's the problem.
Ah.
There's 2 separate deeds, both for, I'm just looking at the second one. One was for 360 and the second was for 360.
Well, that's where the 720 comes in.
Yeah, there was 2 separate deeds recorded at the same time.
This is how,
because it was partially held in a trust.
Are they cumulative or are they duplicates?
No, they're cumulative. One was a deed from an individual and the other was from a trust. So Lois Ravage owned it half on her own and the other half was held in a trust. So they had to file 2 deeds, one to transfer it from the individual and the other to transfer it from the trust.
So this is how
I want to ask, so Eagle Drive, is it a bad area? It doesn't seem that way. No, right?
I think it's a very nice area. It's a very storied area of town, a lot of historical homes. It's just near Bridgeport. I mean, we all kind of live near Bridgeport, some more than others.
This is how you can sneak across Algonquin and hit a few golf balls.
Yeah, I love it over there.
I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth on this one because
let's
I don't know.
call a vote if we feel we have sufficient information.
This
All
is
those
Kathleen.
in
Yeah,
favor?
the house is, I mean, it was listed, right? So the pictures are online. You can see the pictures for 10 Eagle Drive online.
What year is it listed?
I just Googled Realtor.com, right? Because he bought it in 18. So I'm assuming, I mean, Paulette can probably tell better, but it looks like it was,
17.
if he bought it in 18 or 17, okay. But the
17,
pictures
yeah.
are still on Realtor.com, so you can see you can see the quality of the home and all of that. And what it overlooks in the back, there's pictures of it looking, backs up to the golf course.
Paulette, can I ask you a question? This is Ronique.
Sure.
So, or anyone really, actually, I should say. So, January 2017 to October 2020, like almost 4 years, right? Because you're talking about the end of the year.
Mhm.
So from 720 to 800, is that reasonable during that time, or was there that big spike, or was it really not that much of a spike? What are your thoughts on that?
17 to 20. Yeah.
January 17, October 20
Okay, going from what price? 720 to what?
to 800.
$80,000 in 4 years is not, I wouldn't say that that's a stretch. So I think that, yeah, in 4 years, depending on the year, some higher, some lower, it could go to 800 in 4 years. It could go higher. No,
Yeah.
the thing with that neighborhood is it's a beautiful neighborhood. It has the golf course, but like we talked about the other ones, it's very close to Bridgeport. And not every neighborhood close to Bridgeport has an issue with crime, but this particular neighborhood does. And I don't know why. Right off Capitol Avenue, go right into that neighborhood and help themselves to whatever's available. And it could be because it's such a nice neighborhood that it's a good place to go and look for things to break into. Big expensive houses. But they historically have always had an issue with crime in that neighborhood. But I'm not, having said that, I'm not saying that I think the town value is wrong. It's a big house. It's got 6 bedrooms.
It's a big
So I
house.
don't think that 940, 300 with the town value is unusually high.
Right?
This is Harold. This is a big house. It is geared to, I think, a family, 6 bedrooms, 4.5 baths. I think that the modern design lends itself to a family home, people with children per se. So I think that a house like this is often in demand in this area.
Is it? I don't know. I'm not a realtor, so I can't attest to that. I mean, I'd like to talk to Paulette. I mean, is that right?
6-bedroom houses are not, the thing about a 6-bedroom house, there's not a ton of people that are looking for 6 bedrooms, but the ones that are have to pay the price. There are some families that need it. It's not the common thing. 4 bedrooms is
Not a lot
usually,
of people have 6 kids anymore.
right, you don't have that many kids. Usually it's 4 bedrooms and sometimes another room that they could make a bedroom if they had guests. But 6 bedrooms, 4.5 baths is more than most people today would be looking for. But if you need it, you need it.
And this is Ronique. I mean, it is a nice house, but so is an $800,000 house, right? So, I mean, $800,000 house compared to 940, and he did bring up 37 Eagle Drive, which is also a very nice house, selling in August 2020 for $770.
Right, and that's 2,800 square feet. It's a much smaller house, right? The 2,800, the 37 Eagle Drive
Oh, right.
is a lot
That's
smaller.
right.
And it's,
That's right.
it looks like the garage is under. That's what I'm struggling with, is this is a much bigger house than that, so if 37 Eagle sold for 770, is he only 8? I'm just not sure he's 8. I feel like he's 850 or something. I don't, is he 940? I don't know, but I don't feel like he's 8. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, same exact here, Kathleen. I'm in the same line. I'm like, what did it appreciate that?
I mean, I can take a really quick look and see, for example, we won't find many. There won't be many comps, but there are some. See what a 6-bedroom house sells. Just put in the number of bedrooms, I don't bother with anything else.
I mean, I'm happy to make a motion to amend it if people feel that that might be a direction they're willing to go.
Well, I think we can
I
just vote
think
on it. I feel comfortable voting on it.
On it at 800?
Yeah, I feel comfortable with the amount that they're seeking.
Let's look, let me look. Well, maybe I was wrong. Lookout Drive had 6 bedrooms. That closed in 2020 for 895. Brookline Avenue, which is a busier street, closed for 815. So maybe 940 is too much, but maybe 800 is a little too low.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Paulette. Like, because I'm looking specifically with 3837 Eagle, and that's such a smaller house. And
Much
that was
smaller.
that's.
Yep.
I'd be comfortable with an 850, or what was the number you threw out, Kathleen?
That's the number I said. This is Kathleen. I said I thought 850 sounded better to me than 800. And it's almost 100,000 less than 940. So
I could go with 850.
I don't like doing this. I don't like doing this because I just feel like it's not a good way to do this. However, in this case, I have two valuable opinions on this, and I do believe that we may have it overassessed. But look, he gave these comparables, and he did buy it 2017 for 720. I would like to motion to amend my motion to the requested value of 850,000.
this is Kathleen. I'll
Can you repeat
second
the
that.
thing from what to 800,000?
So from 800, a requested value of 800,000, and I'm motioning to amend it to a partial of 850,000 grant to approve.
Before we do that, let me just state one thing, because last year we had an appeal that we heard for a home on where 40 Eagle Drive, okay? It's on the same cul-de-sac street. The subject property is on the corner. I think it has a bigger lot. It's a flat lot. It is on facing Algonquin on one side, but it faces, the main entrance is on Eagle. That house at 40 Eagle is a four-bedroom, 3.5-bath home, and that's appraised at $862,000. An adjustment was made in a prior year. In 2018, it was changed, and that still is listed at $862,000. So I think the recommendation for a amendment to grant in part is still too low for that house.
This is Kathleen. Harold, so you're looking at the town value on the 40 Eagle Drive? The town has it at 862, but it didn't sell for that. We just know the town has it there.
It sold in 2012 for
Right.
$825,000. However, if there is a motion to grant in part, we can proceed with that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the 850 number. I mean, similar, like that house is 2012, it's dated. I'd want to look at a comparable sale versus another kind of appraised house, but.
All right,
I know
so
where you're coming from, Harold, a little bit.
do we make a motion, and was it seconded to?
It was.
Okay, all those in favor of granting the amendment to a price of $850,000, raise your hand. We have 4, and I believe we only need a majority vote. All those opposed, raise your hand. 2 opposed. The motion to amend is carried. And now we'll vote to grant the appeal number 244 in part to a value of $850,000. All those in favor, raise your hand. There are 4 in favor of granting the appeal. All those opposed? 2 opposed. That's Harold and Peter. The motion is carried to grant the appeal in part to $850,000. Kathy, could you call the amend vote and then also the vote to grant the appeal to $850,000 for the record?
Okay, appeal 244 to grant the reduction in the appraised price to $800,000 was amended by a vote of 4-2 to grant in part a reduction to $850,000, and then that grant in part to reduce the price to $850,000 was granted in part with a vote of 4 in favor and 2 against. Howard and Peter voted against the reduction.
Thank you. Well, I think we did about 16 today, which is pretty good. I think that we were able to get through as many as we did because of the preparation that Ronnie put into it. I won't speak about myself.
And
But
you.
certainly, I think that preparing your presentations of the appeals that you've heard will go a long, long way to speeding up this process and giving us all sufficient sleep time. So, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, wait a sec, just 1 second. I just wanted to make sure we're good for tomorrow night. Alexis, you're still on tomorrow night, right?
Yep.
You'll present yours, and I think John is on tomorrow night. And we actually have both Harold and Ronique, so if we need to fill in for more tonight, we're kind of going back and forth between Fairfield Woods and East and North Benson neighborhoods.
And that's at 6,
Harold,
right?
did you mention Kathleen? Is she going to be present? I'm sorry, Catherine, I meant to say. No, there's no Catherine tomorrow. All right,
I don't have her on tomorrow night, no.
correct. Okay.
Is it 6 o'clock tomorrow?
I don't have a quorum until, I've only got 3 of us until, at 4, so we won't be on till 6. Unless we get a couple people to fill in at 4, but yeah. Oh, Paulette's not on tomorrow night, right, Paulette?
I thought I was.
Oh, I can put you in, then that makes 4 at 4. So let me add you in.
And I do it.
You know, if Judy can do 4 to 6 or 5, in there, or Catherine can, then we could get a quorum at 4. So I'll put you in,
I can
Paulette.
in 4 too.
Ronique, are you good at 4? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can get either Catherine or Judy. Who else am I missing? Oh, Peter's not on tomorrow night, but Catherine or Judy from 4 to 6, then we would start at 4. So let me check with them and see what we can get. And then everybody else can just join at 6.
Yes, I could do 4 o'clock, and so we do need one more for 4 o'clock start. Otherwise, we're starting at 6. Thank you.
I'll find out. All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay,
I need
who
a
made the
motion to adjourn. We need a motion to adjourn. Thank
Okay.
you, Alexis. And we have a second,
I'll second that, Ronique.
Ronnie. So this meeting is adjourned at 9:16 p.m. And we will reconvene tomorrow either at 4 o'clock or 6 p.m. Thank you very much, all.
All right, everybody. Thanks. Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.